Hey, welcome. All right, what's next? We're gonna make another coaster. Had an idea. Gonna make a freaking bottle cap coaster. It's gonna be a little bit of a thick coaster, but I think it'll be relatively cool. Plus, I have a shitload of freaking resin right here that's already been opened up. I've got to get used up, so I've got to come up with resin projects. This isn't meant for thick pour resin. This is a really thin pour resin, like 1/4 inch thick at a time. Any thicker, the exothermic reaction of this kind of stuff, where it gets hot, it'll fucking crack. So this will work great for doing a coaster. What we're gonna do today, we're gonna do Busch Light bottle cap coaster. So what we gotta do, we're gonna mix up a very small amount of resin. We are going to dye it blue. We're gonna pour it in here, and we're gonna put bottle caps in here. And we're gonna freaking set the bottle caps, put it in the pressure pot overnight, and then once the bottle caps are set in this thin layer of blue resin, then we'll pour a clear layer of resin over top of it. In theory, hopefully, they don't float in the resin, and because we want a very thin layer. It's just going to be enough layer of resin to start with to give us a blue base and to glue the frickin' bottle caps down. So I need a Dixie cup. Hold on a second. All right. That's what we got so far. Now we're going to throw it in the pressure pot, which probably isn't necessary considering how thin it is, but that is going to glue them down. And then we can cover with some clear resin. All right, I'm going to put this in the pressure pot. I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, so I got my my beer cap coaster out, and yeah, it didn't work out. This is my first attempt. What it did do was kind of cool. It imprinted my mold with all the shapes of the beer caps. I guess when that resin got hot, it softened up the silicone mold or something. Shit, I don't know. But the beer caps actually all twisted up. The mold freaking deformed. It was up out of here like that. And I didn't use enough resin, so there's huge gaps in there. So that didn't work. I think I'm going to try this again. I'm going to use considerably more resin so I have a nice coating of resin all the way over the bottom of it. And I just got these little chunks of silicone rubber laying around. I'll just take them, stack them onto the center here, and then take something heavy. Like my 4-jaw chuck, and we'll just set that on there before we put it down into the pressure pot overnight. Hopefully that'll keep it all flat, level, and maybe it'll work next time. But I need to mix up more resin, so we'll try this again later. All right, so off camera I went ahead and tried this again. Now, my first attempt did not turn out well, because when I pulled it out of the mold, the whole mold was all freaking deformed. I mean, this still works as a viable coaster, but it did not turn out at all correct. One, I don't think I didn't use quite enough resin. Two, I used the tabletop resin, and that stuff generates, I think, a lot more heat than this resin does. And when it generated all that heat, it actually melted the bottle caps down into the silicone mold. And under that chemical reaction, it deformed the mold. The whole mold just bowled up, and then all the resin ran out to the edges. So I just wound up with this. So I tried it again. This time I went back to using my Alumilite amazing clear cast resin that I've used, hundreds and hundreds of freaking times. And to try and safeguard the mold deforming, I weighted it down this time. I got my 4-jaw chuck out there, and there's probably close to, this probably weighs about 10 pounds or so. It's fairly heavy. And to get a nice even pressure down on everything, I just took a scrap piece of ash that I had laying around, and I sprayed it down with the mold release to try and help any resin that might have been sitting on top of the bottle caps that I didn't get wiped off didn't stick to this, and thankfully it did not stick to that. So, this is what we got so far. That turned out a million times better. Now what we're gonna do, now you could call it done if you wanted to and just use that as a coaster, but I'm gonna put clear resin over top of it so we have a nice flat layer on it. There's a little bit of freaking goop right here. See if we can get that dug out of there. All right. Now we're just going to mix up another small batch, and this will just be clear. We'll pour that in there, pressure pot overnight, and then we'll have a look at it tomorrow. Well, next fucking week, because I got to go to work tomorrow. All right, so I got it out of the pressure pot. The clear has set up. That's what we got so far. Problem is, all the bottle caps are exposed, and I really don't think my cork base that I'm going to put on here is going to stick for shit to that. Plus, if I don't put the cork base on there, put this on a coffee table, it'll just scratch the ever-living crap out of any finish that's on there. So we're going to fill this up with more resin. I had an idea off camera because I didn't have my camera out here and I started messing with it. Use painter's tape to make a little barricade so that I can hopefully pour some resin in here and build just a super thin layer that will cover up all them exposed bottle caps. Now I'm not going to do it again because it's really complicated. You wrap tape around it and then you put a rubber band over the tape to help secure it to try and keep the resin from going through. So it's an idea. I don't know. We're going to see if it'll work. If it doesn't work, it's not really that big of a damn deal. It's not going to ruin anything. So we just need enough resin to fill up them bottle caps and exceed the height of the exposed edges. And I'm also going to take this metallic white gold mica powder, and we're going to mix that in and put it in here. I'm hoping that if I get a really good opaque metallic resin coat in here, that it might make that blue pop out better, stand out better, make it look nicer. All right, so the resin is set up overnight. I got a little bit of bleed through. I expected there was going to be a little bit of bleed through. Actually, I expected there to be a lot of bleed through. I figured the resin would just fucking pour out all over the goddamn place. But it didn't. It's just a small amount. It's not a big deal, because we're gonna grind this off anyways. So let's see if this tape will come off. And if the tape doesn't come off, well, once again, that doesn't matter because we have to bevel all the edges. Hey, wait, no. Painter's tape doesn't stick to resin. All right. That's what we got so far. Now what we got to do, we got to flatten out this part down here. Not a big deal. We'll just take the sander, done. The top side, we're going to bevel all four edges. We're going to clean up how rough this is down here, and then we're going to pour a finish coat over it, because the finish coat will take out all of the sanding scratches. Now, if you wanted to, you could bevel these edges and you can sand them to 600 grit and get some polishing compound and polish and polish and polish and bring it back to a mirror finish. I find that to be extraordinarily tedious and a giant waste of time when a little bit of resin poured on here will take out all of these sanding scratches. It fills that stuff in and brings it back to a glass-like finish. So now what I gotta do, I'm gonna take it over to that benchtop freaking belt sander over there. We're gonna flatten this side off, and then I'm gonna bevel these edges. And then we will get some more resin out and we'll finish this thing off. All right, the resin is cured. The final step we got to do, we're going to put our cork board on the bottom of it. Now, it is exactly the same size. I want to make it slightly smaller. All right, all done. That's my Busch Light bottle cap. Coaster. Fuck, my brain shut off. I thought it turned out really cool. I like the dimensions that you can see in there. You can actually see the edge of the bottle caps and everything. I dig it. I hope you like it. Hit like if you did. If you didn't, hit like anyways. Hit subscribe. See you next time.